Believe it or not, in this video, this very video that you're about to watch, there is a moment where you are going to shake your head at me in disbelief. But keep watching. I promise I figure it out by the end. Just keep watching. Hello adventurers, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're actually taking a scenic drive up Mount Evans here in Colorado. This is a gorgeous drive that I cannot wait to share with you. Along the way there are 3 different pull-offs that we can stop off at with some various viewpoints, information, and amazing views. The road is a little interesting and I'm going to show you all of that, so let's get right to it. Our first stop here is at Mount Goliath, and I'm really excited because this is a natural area. I was told that this is a must-see. So a short distance into the visitor center, here we go. Here we have a little map of the alpine tundra area and then also the nature center, which we're about to go inside. There's a little path that you can walk around and see some of the different kinds of vegetation. And then this right here, the Bristlecone Loop trail, this is why I was told we needed to come. The bristlecones are actually some of the oldest trees ever in existence. So we're going to be checking that out, but first, inside we go. Now inside all of the buildings of the national parks and then also the national monuments right now, they are asking that you wear a mask. So we always keep one on hand, no big deal. There's some great information in here that is definitely worth checking out though, so it's worth putting on the mask. This guy right here is called a pocket gopher, and it says they are rarely actually seen above ground. But this little habitat that they have here shows kind of what it might look like if you were to go underground and see them living in their natural space. They actually like to live below the snowmelt, so they can live in some really interesting temperatures. Inside this little center, we can find everything from the willow thickets to the wet meadows and everything in between. A few little interactive elements like this, talking about the forest and what it's made of, what we might find here, things like that. And then along the way, you can see some photos of the nature and also, again, where these would be located in this particular area that we're exploring. Look at this tree cookie. This is amazing. This is actually from a ponderosa pine, and you can count out the rings and find the dates. So this ring right here was from the Louisiana Purchase, and then this one from the Declaration of Independence. So about 20 some odd years, almost 30 years between the two, and look at the difference there. But it keeps going, and it actually gets all the way out here to 1969. And right after that's whenever the tree was cut down. But in 1969, July 20th, this ring would have been when Neil Armstrong actually was the first man to stand on the moon. Now, why, if we're going to be seeing the bristlecone pines, are we seeing a ponderosa pine? That's a good question to ask. It's actually because they want you to be able to see this and have a comparison of the two to kind of know the difference between the growth cycles. Now, ponderosa pine grows much faster in a wider direction. However, the bristlecone is unique and does something a little different. The bristlecone pine has rings as well, but they're very compact. And this tree, little cookie here, is actually 1,000 years old. And then if we're looking at this tree behind us, it looks much different than if you were to see a ponderosa pine in person. It looks like it's a twisted, gnarled mess. But this is what makes it so unique and able to withstand all of the elements. And then look at the root system. Wow. Just outside the visitor center, you can also find more information about what's in bloom currently. And it shows you what it looks like, what kind of family that they might be from, and also a little bit about where we might find it out here along the trails. So I think with that said, we're gonna take a little walk. Now it is a little bit more windy up here. It is also a little bit more chilly up here, but well worth it to kind of check out this area. So I'm going to show you what it looks like and maybe just leave some of the talking for the next part of the adventure. Let's go exploring. Now the path down the Bristlecone Loop here is a little bit rugged. It's still not that hard, but it's not an ADA trail for sure. So this is one that requires you to kind of get out and maneuver over some jagged rocks. But wow, there's a grove of these trees that are just so interesting looking. They almost look like they're mangled. And then there's some of them that have died and fallen to the ground, and it's just neat to see. Now some of these trees are super thick, meaning several feet around. And after seeing the one that we saw in the visitor center, that means that we could be standing right here next to this tree. And this tree very well could be 1,000 years old. Wow. I mean, think of all the things that have happened in 1,000 years. It's mind-boggling to know that this tree has maybe stood here that entire time being withered and windblown and still has held up. That is just, I don't even know. Nature is just cool. This one right here might tell us about fire in the forest. And this one might teach us about clinging to life despite all of the odds. This one could tell us the story of how one tree can spawn so many things. Or this one, how lightning in the forest is so dangerous. This one could tell us about all of the little animals who have used it as a home. The fact is, if these trees really could talk, we might learn a little bit, not just about the trees and the forest, but about ourselves. Now, coming out to Mount Evans, we do get to hear those stories, and we get to interpret them through places like the Nature Center. That's why it's important to stop off at all the different places, because they fill in the gaps so you can understand kind of what you're looking at. If you were to just come out here on your own and see the really nice forest, you might not understand the impact of these trees and how old they really are. But then you would see something like this one and think, wow, that thing looks crazy. I wonder what made it that way. Is that natural? What's going on with it? Little do you know, just looking at it, that that is a tree that has not only seen a lot of life, but it's probably 1,000 years old. And it is telling its story even in decay and rot. By going to the Nature Center, though, you know that. And that's what makes it spectacular. Now, we are going to get back to the views on the road, and we have 2 additional stops along this roadway, so I can't wait to see what is next. This is amazing. Now, I will say this, the roadway is pretty narrow. There are no guardrails on the side that is going off of the mountain. So if you have some issues with height, this might not be the trip for you, but it is gorgeous up here, and you can see just for miles and miles. Now, as you can see, the inward side of the mountain is rocky, and then the outward side where you have the view is kind of a drop off, but it graduates into the forest itself. We are in a part of the National Forest, so that's kind of cool. And I see something extra special right now. Mind you, I literally just passed and it was not there when I literally just passed. I pulled off so I could kind of show you all what the mountain looks like. And there he is. Is that not just the coolest thing? I had stopped to show you all the view, and they just walked up and sat there for a little bit, and even with the traffic coming, they're still just hanging out. Guys, look at this. They're literally right by the van. Okay, hi. How are you? Now, we're not supposed to interact with them, so we're gonna roll up our window. And yeah. Just so neat. They're so spectacular. Okay, let's get back on the road, and I am grinning from ear to ear now. That was amazing. There's some more that are actually coming up behind us, but I think we're gonna go see what else we can find. mean, just look at them though. They do not care at all. Look at them over there. They're running behind us. I'm trying to get around the one that's in front of us, but every time I do, it darts kind of in front of me. And I don't want to freak it out. But here they all come. There's a little pull-off here, so that'll keep them safe. Just a short distance away from where all of that happened, we have this overlook and part of a trailhead. And on a clear day, wow. I quite possibly got the coolest picture of my van that I will ever get. That was amazing. They're just so neat. And of course I kept my distance from them, so you were seeing video that was taken from kind of a little bit away. As soon as they started getting closer, I did get in my van because they ask you to maintain distance. So keep that in mind. They will run, and sometimes they can get aggressive and charge too, so we don't want that. Now back to the road. Finally have a full-size pull-off instead of just a little zip zip. We haven't had one of those since we were on that little pull-off where we saw the little critters a while ago. But here you actually have a great view of what we're about to go up. You can see the slope of the mountain, and it is so cool. So this is our pull-off that we're on right now and the road we've been on. And as you can see, all of the mountain behind, this is actually the tundra area. Now the tundra is a protected space, so it tells you cannot drive on the tundra. We are about to be following this line that goes up, up, up. So that is where we're actually off to. And it is amazing out here. It is getting a little bit more chilly. We're climbing in altitude, but just look at this. Just before we start to climb up the mountain, giving Dimples a little bit of a rest for a moment as we go down to Summit Lake. Now, Summit Lake is a little pull-off that has a trail that you can hike down. It's very short and really beautiful. It looks like the mountain just comes down and filters everything into this small lake. So I'll just show you. Now, Summit Lake is considered to be a national natural landmark because of the value that it brings to the space. It's here in this wonderful tundra. You can find some of the little flowers and plants that only survive in this kind of conditions. And then the lake itself, Well, it's just amazing. I'm gonna try to touch it. I don't see any signs saying I can't. I'm sure it's really cold, but I kind of want to just find out, you know. So if there's no signs posted down by the water, we're going to find out what it's like. Wow, just wow. In the distance you can hear some of the little animals. Eek, eek. Above us there are some birds flying. And as you look at the scope of the mountains behind us, you can actually see where snowmelt comes down into this beautiful mountain lake. It is spectacular up here. And as the shadows of the clouds, just one cloud can make a difference in everything. For example, right now, the sun is hiding under this one up here. Don't know if you can see that or not, but as soon as it opens up, the water sparkles. And it's pretty clear, so you can see pretty far out when the sun is sparkling. But I haven't forgotten, we're going to try out the water. This could be bad. This could be bad. Oh my goodness, is it gonna be cold? Oh, so cold. Oh my gosh. In all the water that I have felt, this might be in the top 2 or 3 of the coldest. Just wow. Wow, wow, wow. When you think about Colorado, you think about the mountains, the cold, crisp lakes, and the beautiful animals that you find kind of all here at Mount Evans. It's awesome, and this is a perfect day. Not too chilly, just a few clouds just to kind of add some painting to the photos whenever you're taking them. And this amazing place right here, Summit Lake. Okay, we're in for a wild ride now. Just past Summit Lake, the road no longer is marked. It's pretty bumpy, even though it is paved, and it looks like it got even more narrow, guys. It's a really beautiful drive, and I've actually been seeing some what look like little weasels. I don't know that they're weasels. I'm gonna look on my map to see if in fact they are, but they look like weasels. One more little tidbit. At some points during the year, this last part of the pass is not open. So whenever you're visiting, check online first. Speaking of online, for you to visit Mount Evans in this current time, you do have to have a timed reservation. There is a fee to get into the park, which is your typical standard fee. You can use your park pass for this. However, you do also have to have a timed reservation. Those are only like $2, but they have to be gotten in advance. The signal is not great out by Mount Evans, so I would suggest doing that before arriving. Okay, we passed mile marker number 13, and just past that you actually get a really great view of where we're going to the top. And there's an observation point there that's really unique, so I can't wait to get there, but we still have a little bit to go, and it's just one hairpin turn after the next. I don't think that I've gone over 10 miles an hour since we've started, and I definitely know that I will be using the low gear to get down. Made it to the top. Now we have to find some parking. That could be the hard part. There's not a lot up here, which explains the timed reservations, and some people are in bigger vehicles and actually park in 2 spots, which makes it hard, but I think I found one. We have made it to the summit of Mount Evans, and it was a gorgeous ride up here, although that road does get a little sketchy. Super fun and beautiful views. Now, while we're up here, we can actually go to all the different points around the summit and see 360 views. If we want a little bit of a challenge, we can actually go up some more. And there's some people who are definitely doing that. Now, I think before we make any problematic decisions about going up, since we are at such a high altitude, first we're gonna check out everything on this level. I did go ahead and grab a jacket. It's a little chilly up here, and we are going to go explore and see what is over here. I'm very fascinated by all these buildings. But before we do, let's look at this. It says, "You've done it. You have reached the summit of North America's highest paved road, the Mount Evans Byway. Here are the splendors of the land, the drama, and the history that lay ahead of us." Now, while we're looking at this sign, it does explain a little bit more about some of the things that we're seeing up here, like the building itself. It's called the Castle in the Sky, or the Crest House. It was constructed approximately in 1940, and it's a part of the history and lore of the summit and the Byway. It was actually once the highest structure in the world, and it was a restaurant, but it was actually destroyed by a fire in 1979. Now, despite the fact that the restaurant itself was destroyed, we actually still have some structure here to go look at, and there's something that's newer, and that is what has my intrigue going, ooh, let's go see it the most, I think. So, without further ado, let's go explore some ruins and some history right over here. Okay, I was coming over here to explore, but look what we found. Oh my goodness. Yes. Now, we are currently standing in the building that we actually saw on the sign. And it's really neat because they were able to salvage pieces of it for us to have this experience still. But while we're inside the building, looking at this structure that once was, we're actually learning a little bit about that very unique spot that we were talking about. They actually have a really neat science stop on the top of Mount Evans, and it's something that you're going to want to check out. In fact, if you're interested in science, they have a wonderful astronomy center right up here where they have telescopes placed on the top of the peak, and this sign right here tells us a little bit more about it. Now, I'm not sure exactly when this was placed here. It doesn't say on this particular sign, so I'm going to continue looking. However, it's really neat because you are at 14,260 feet above sea level whenever you are up here. So this is a wonderful view of the stars, and I can only imagine at nighttime it is phenomenal. Now, believe it or not, the Castle in the Sky was at one point in time considered to be a combination of organic and futuristic. It was something that wasn't normally the appearance of a typical building at the time. And this is what it might have looked like before the fire. Now this sign does talk a little bit more about when it was constructed, but also what happened and what caused the fire. It was actually spawned by a propane explosion. And from there, it took quite a while before they started to actually shore up the building so that we could come and see it today. In fact, it wasn't until 1992 that they did that. Now in 1980, that's whenever this became what it is today. In fact, 74,000 acres were designated at that time so that we could come out and explore it the way that we kind of do now in more present day. There's a lot of protected areas like the tundras, but there's a lot of areas that you can also go hiking here. It's pretty neat and well worth the crazy drive up. Now that we have explored this amazing structure and learned a little bit more, let's go see if we can get a little closer to the little sheep or goats. Goats? Goats. Guys, this is amazing. So as we're kind of down from the rocky area, you can see there's like a little whole family up there, and they do have some little babies, so they're being pretty protective of them. But I've noticed that from this distance you can get a pretty good view of them, and it's absolutely amazing to see. I mean, this is probably the closest that we are ever going to get to something like this in its natural habitat, and that's just awesome. So definitely take it in if you come up to Mount Evans. Can we just talk about how amazing this is? We're in this vast tundra boulder field, and along the way you see these tiny mosses, a few small plants, and amongst those there's these brilliantly red little pieces that pop out of the ground. It's gorgeous. And the views, oh the views, so gorgeous. But then on the other side of this coin, as we continue to turn around, you can see behind us this. Now we can't go inside of this. It's really cool though, and I think they do some special programs. So check into it whenever you come and visit. The world's kind of still weird, so they may offer that whenever you're coming. I don't know, but just to be able to see the spectacle of it on the top of this brilliant mountain is so neat. Now guys, I have been on a mission since the beginning of my channel to find a marmot. And I really want to find one, and somebody saw one a while ago, but I don't see it. I hear it every so often. It does the little marmot sound, but I don't see it. Very elusive, very, very elusive. Much less than the chipmunks and squirrels that we've seen at many of the other sites. Marmots are sneaky little devils. So I am gonna look. Oh, I see something. Oh, I think I found it. Do you see it? Oh my gosh. It's a little something. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, I saw it. It was literally just like right here. Oh my goodness. That is so exciting. You guys don't even understand how long I have looked for a marmot. And I kind of saw something just like right over here too. Oh my gosh. Do you see it? It's out there on that little rock on the edge over there. Oh my gosh. Now, I met a man and his son a while ago that were up here, and his son actually pointed out that there was a marmot. So he gave me hope. And I would just like to say to those two, David, I found a marmot. I found a marmot. Ah! I'm so excited. And there's a few of them actually that are crawling around out here toward the edge. So if you come out and you get on this little boulder field and you get kind of quiet and you start looking, they're not very big, but oh my gosh, bucket list check. Okay guys, that was absolutely amazing, and I'm going to be wearing a permagrin for like days now because we checked that off the list. Whew, super, super fun. And it's been absolutely amazing out here. The weather is a little bit more chilly up here. There's a little bit of a breeze, but absolutely awesome. So I think what we're gonna do now is we're gonna head back to the van, and then we're going to start going down the mountain. Now I am gonna show you parts of this because I think it's important for you to see how narrow the road really is and then also what it looks like going down. Now we will be using low and not burning up our brakes. I do recommend you do the same when you come up and visit, and we probably will be definitely doing what some of the other people were and taking advantage of some of those pull-offs so people can pass. So with that said, let's get back to the van. As you can see, we are in low and I am not accelerating at all. I'm just trying to take it slow. Now, I will say this, there's not a lot of passing on this particular stretch of highway either, up to the mountaintop. In fact, past the, I want to say 10-mile marker, there's very few pull-offs. But if you do have somebody who is in such a big hurry to get down, I just had somebody like that behind me, you can use the hairpins, have a little pull-off on them. So keep that in mind. But be safe, that's the main thing. Like what? Oh my gosh, Mount Evans has not disappointed me whatsoever. I have seen so many amazing things. Now, this has got me thinking though, and maybe you can go along on this journey with me of trying to figure this out. When I was out in the Boulder field, I kept seeing those smaller little critters, and I was thinking those were small marmots. Again, I haven't seen a marmot like in person except for once, and it was kind of a rogue marmot situation, so it wasn't like he was the normal marmot. No. So maybe, this is what I'm thinking now, maybe we saw pikas, maybe, and then that was a marmot. He was huge, so huge. But in any account, again, I'm going to say this. David, we saw a marmot, one of those. Now, if earlier when you were watching and I said something about a marmot, thinking it was just a smaller version of a marmot, and you were probably going, no, not a marmot. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I'm super, super sorry. I'm the first to admit whenever I mess up, and I definitely, after seeing that large and in charge marmot, know that those little ones were probably not marmots. In fact, I think that they're probably pikas. Now, the reason why I think that they're pikas is because I know that we were in alpine tundra area, and pikas are in alpine tundra areas. So with that said, I attempted to consult my little Mount Evans map. They don't have either one of them in here though. So this could explain some of my confusion, because I was thinking that maybe they'd list it, but they didn't. So it is what it is. And I'm going to stop back at the nature center to see if in the subsections, if it shows an example of both of them. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. Now I'm just being blessed beyond measure with bucket list after bucket list after bucket list. Oh my goodness. All I can say is, like I said earlier, when I thought I had seen a marmot, the permagrin does not stop. And it's only gotten more so now, because now I know I've seen all of these different kinds of things that I didn't even expect to see when I came out here. I thought maybe I'd see some mountain goats, maybe some bighorn sheep. I didn't know. But now, oh my goodness. I don't even have to stop off at the nature center at this point. Like, I don't need to prove a point to myself. I know that I have seen spectacular things today. Okay, I know I said I didn't have to stop to see what it was because I'm happy, but I still want to know. So I stopped back off and I'm looking, and actually, you know how I said I thought we saw a weasel? In fact, it was a weasel. So yes, we did see that. And then kind of looking around some more, and I'm trying to find where this little critter is. Okay, here's something that kind of looks like what I saw. It's an illustration, so it's not an exact picture, but this is a long-tailed vole, and it says here that it can actually survive in extreme temperatures, which would totally make sense on the top of the mountain. Now, I'm kind of looking around, and I think I'm gonna have to flip through some of these, though, to see for sure. This is great because this actually tells me what this is. They look like succulents, but they're actually something kind of different. They stay low to the ground, they're out of the wind, and they're found in a lot of different places actually, so that's kind of neat. And this is an illustration of what the root system for one of those little things that we saw up top were that were so red and pretty. That is huge. Oh my goodness. Okay, this is definitely going to tell us what is what, because this is the harsh highlands. And look who we have here. a yellow-bellied marmot. So I definitely was wrong up top, and I feel really silly now because he is huge. And I started seeing them coming out for the evening all down the mountain after I had originally made that mistake. This though, this is definitely what we saw. It was not a shrew, it was a pika, and look how cute it is. Now they do put these together a lot onto the signs, and so I'm kind of believing that people probably make a lot of mistakes like I just did. So definitely, pikas have small feet and ears, they have little round bodies, and they have adaptations that minimize their heat loss. So that means that they can live in the absolute tip top of where we just were. Now the yellow-bellied marmots hibernate through the winter in the rock dens, which would explain why they were a little bit lower down on the mountain. This is so neat. And that is why we read the signs. And had I been able to read these signs before I went up top, I wouldn't have made this mistake. I feel silly now. But to my defense, and I'm not making excuses, I'm just saying to my defense, whenever I was in here earlier, I don't know if you could tell on the video whenever I was filming inside, but there was a very squealy noise, a very childlike squealy noise. And there was actually a mom who was talking to her kid in there, and they kept kind of going over to where I was, and I couldn't get to that wall at all. So now that we have, I feel so silly, but we have seen a marmot, we have seen a pika, we have checked the bucket list, and we have had a wonderful day out here at Mount Evans. I am so happy that we came out. I have had an absolute blast, and I hope that you have too. The scenic drive up is wonderful to experience and just kind of take in the views. Mind you, maybe not so much for those who are a little bit afraid of heights because there's no rail. And I will say this, that as the road started to get more narrow, I started to kind of go, are we going to make it? But we did, and I'm really happy that we did so because it's been a spectacular trip up here. And I'm going to say that I will probably be back during maybe a spring month to see all the flowers blooming. If you have enjoyed coming out with me to Mount Evans today and taking the scenic drive, make sure that you hit the like, subscribe for future content, and check out all of my uploads. I travel across the United States, sharing with you not only fun adventures, but also stuff in my van right here. This is Dimples, and we go on so many cool adventures, and you get to come with us. Till next time, guys, bye!